Hey, this is Professor Homo. Welcome to csc235, Advanced Web Programming or Advanced Web Applications. And we're going to be working with JavaScript. And to start out, we're going to use W3Schools as a reference to get some information and to work with some topics that we're going to work with. And we're actually going to use CodePen as our kind of our output coding area. And this is, I'll log into this. But what I want to point out first in W3Schools, if you go to W3Schools, go to the Learn JavaScript section, and please read through the first couple sections here on the JavaScript tutorial. They'll have an introduction, they'll have a where to put JavaScript in your code, although I'll show you all that too. Output, because there's different places where JavaScript can be output. Inner HTML, we're going to use that to actually display our JavaScript statements in HTML tags. And there's also document write. I don't think we're going to use that. There's window alert with a little pop-up window. We might use that a little bit. And there's also console log, which is used more for debugging because it's not really in your window. It's kind of in this little console section that users won't really see. You'll use it yourself. So that's output. So you could check as much of these kind of intro areas in our JS tutorial. And then I want you to jump actually to JS dates, because we're going to actually use the date format. And initially what it does is it just kind of prints out this whole date with all these different details in it. And we're going to use something called date methods down here. And here's some date methods where we can actually, from the date object, we can get the date, meaning the 1 through 31 calendar dates out of that. We can get a day, which is 0 through 6, which we actually are going to have to convert to day names, and the full year, and also the month, which is also in numbers, and we're going to have to convert to month names. So, and then we'll actually use arrays to do that. So a lot of this stuff will kind of deal with just this little date kind of object in the beginning. So for our first exercise, we're just going to work with dates and just kind of build on that. So what I'll need you to do after you check out some of that is go to CodePen. Hopefully you set up a free account already, and I'm going to log in and just kind of go over the background a little. I'll just put in my email here. Hopefully I remember my password. Now, CodePen can be a little confusing because you're going to see some external kind of pens here first. You're going to think they're yours, but they're not yours. And you have to remember to go to your dashboard when you first go into here. And you'll have things, the only things we'll use are pens and collections. And actually, when you go into here, it doesn't let you create a collection on your own. So I'm going to go back to my profile. And if I go back to my profile, it shows kind of this main area with the kind of the last thing you did. But if you go into collections up here, it lets you create a new collection. Now they're showing collections, and here's one this is from last spring. I'm going to make a new collection, and you can see if you go over here, it's not the easiest navigation, but if you go over here, I'm going to add a new collection, and I'd ask you to do this too. I'm just going to add a csc235, and I'm going to put, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to put spring 2018 because I have another one here that I'm going to keep. So I'm going to make a csc235 spring 2018, so I know that that's for this semester. And I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to try to save my pens into there just to keep them organized. And maybe you have more than one course as well. So you might, if you're doing anything for a web design course, you might have a csc230 collection or whatever. You might want to keep some stuff in there. So we'll try to put our pens in this collection. It'll be easy to find. One thing just to keep in mind too, when I have your URL, it doesn't matter. You don't have to send me links to every pen you do or every file that you work on in CodePen. Once I know your URL, I can just go there and click and see everything that I'm seeing here. So that's why I'm going to need to see your URL, and usually it's just going to be your name or something like that. So I'm going to be able to go in there. Now when you make a new pen in here, you could usually go to create. So I'm going to go to create and make a new pen. And right off the bat, I'm just going to give it a name, and you could click on that pencil to give it a name, and I'm just going to call it ex1-dates. You don't have to put your last name on it because it's going to be in your CodePen area. And I'm going to save it, even though there's nothing in here right now. And I think what I'll also do is, but if I go to your profile, and then I go down to pens, Here's the one I just made. I think they have an add. Yeah, if see, even though it's blank down here, if I go down to my pens I just made, I'm going to go down to add collection. So I'm going to put ex1-dates and I'm going to do add to collection. And it's going to ask what collection, and I'm going to say the csc235 spring 2018. So I just made a kind of a blank pen and it's added to there. So I'm going to go in there now on my ex1-dates. So that's what I'm going to do. And there's nothing in here right now. So we're going to kind of start from scratch. Now, you could work with our HTML, CSS, and JS, JavaScript. Now, we're not going to do much CSS right now, and we're going to do a little bit of HTML and JavaScript. So you could work on it this way, or you could change view, and you could do it so it's on the side, whichever one kind of works out. I think I'll start like this first. And again, these things you could kind of move around. These things you can maximize and minimize. So if you're doing all JavaScript, you can maximize and it'll kind of collapse those for now. You'll still see them. So you can work in this way. I think I'm going to start this way for now. And in JavaScript, we'll set up some basically date methods to start, and then we'll also kind of display them in HTML, and we'll display them in different ways. So let's just go back to W3Schools just to get a little head start here, and I'll go back to the very beginning. And they even, I think, show a date. This very first example under JS Home right now, they say try it yourself. Now, what they do here is they use a button click to show the date, and we don't have to use a button right now. But all they're doing is using this thing, which is the date object. And we actually may make a variable that equals the date object. It'll just be easier to work with. So we're going to kind of display that now. But where they're displaying that is, you can see they're doing document.getElementById demo. That's the ID they're using. And then they're going .inner HTML equals date. And then they actually have a paragraph with an ID name of demo. And that's where it's displaying. So when they click here, this is that paragraph down here. Now, instead of worrying about all that HTML right now, we're going to try to set it up real simple when we do that, so it just displays right off the bat. So I could even copy some of this to start if I want to. And again, they're using an output inner HTML to show the date object. So we could try that. So let me just copy this for now. I'll just start with that. And you could do this from scratch too. You could just type it. So I'm going to go to my HTML, and I don't want all this. And I don't want on-click, so I'm going to take that out, and I don't want this quote or anything like that. And actually, this stuff should be in our JavaScript. We're going to go document.getElementById, and if we want to use demo, we can use demo, and we're going to get rid of these little quotes up here right now because we're not using HTML, so this is just showing up in our JavaScript right now. So, and what we want to do, since this is in our JavaScript, we're going to go up to HTML and we'll just make a paragraph. I'll just go P. And what's nice about CodePen is we don't have to set up our whole HTML, doc type, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to make a paragraph, and inside the first paragraph tag, I'm going to go PID equals, and I guess I could use demo. They're using demo. I'll use that for now. And I'll close it, and then I'll do a closing P tag. What that does is it basically makes a paragraph with nothing in it. This is where you'd put stuff like hello. That's where you'd normally put your information that's inside the paragraph if I didn't have demo. Again, if I didn't have ID demo and I just made a paragraph and I just did hello, all that would do is just show the word hello inside there, but we're not going to do that. We're going to say PID equals demo. And you could use one quote or two. We use two right now. And one thing I am going to do, save this. And when I go into here, I'm going to go to settings down here. I would recommend you work in Twilight, because then it'll put your variables in a different color and it'll be easier to know if you're getting your variables right. So I definitely recommend working in Twilight theme right now, in the dark theme. So make sure you're in that. And I'll go back to my pens. I'll just go back to my dashboard for now and go into my pens, and there it is. Even though it's in a collection, it'll still show it right here. So I'll go back to that I was working on right now, and you can see what it's doing. It's JavaScript is saying document get element by ID demo, and then in there, in the inner HTML, write HTML, that's the date. This is the date object. And that's one way to display it. We can also use an alert. So I'll go back to W3Schools and I'll check out alerts. Remember, that was output. So let's just see how alerts work. Here's window alert. And the way that works is it goes window.alert and it displays it. So let's say if we could also do that. And this will happen right away. So I'm just going to go after here, I'm going to go window.alert. And in there, I'm going to put the date. And it's already coming up already, even though I didn't even finish it. So I hit OK. And it's giving me problems already. Let me comment it out before I write it, because I actually want the date to be in there like that. Now I'll uncomment it with those 2 slashes. And you can see what's happening. Embedded page says, and there, what it's doing, window alert, and it's in parentheses, it's putting the date parentheses, which is the date object, inside there. And that's what it's doing right there. And that's kind of annoying, so I'm not going to do it that way. Another way to do it, instead of like that, you can do what's called console log, or console. I guess it's console, it's not console. And if you go down here, you'll see console log. It kind of works like the window alert. It just goes inside of parentheses like that. And if I go back here and you don't see anything, it's because we don't have the console open. If I go to open the console, which is down here, you can see now it's showing the date in the console. And I'll just close that up right now. That's console log, and I'm not sure if we're going to do that right now, so I'm going to get rid of that. We're okay with just our demo, just like W3Schools. So again, we're writing our JavaScript here, and we're demoing it in this little paragraph, whatever we want right now. And I see we're about 12 minutes in, so let's take a break right here, and we'll pick up with the rest of our JavaScript in the next video.